I didn't want to do a Facebook Live, but I was recording a answer to Sebastian's question earlier in the car, and on the way back we getting coffee, and had this really great answer. It was like 10 minutes long, and dove into a lot of good things, and went to go press stop recording, and it turns out that I wasn't recording at all. So, so I recorded I didn't record a 10-minute answer, so I figured I got to make some breakfast here, but I still wanted to answer the question, and this way when I do live, I know that it's live, and I know that I'm not making a mistake recording because I see that little red live icon at the top. So Sebastian asked a really good question about, hey, I only have $5 to spend on a daily basis, I'm new to Facebook ads, I'm just getting started. When do I know when to pull ads? When do I know when to scale? I mean, basically, how do I get started with identifying winners and losers? And so I'm gonna just do my best to recap the good thoughts I had earlier, because I made some good points, and just kind of pull them up and get them back to you. So the first point is that Facebook, their kind of rule of thumb is 8,000 impressions is the kind of magic number before you can make a decision on whether this ad is good or bad. And so if you create automation rules inside Facebook, which we've talked about before, where you actually create a rule that Facebook will automatically trigger an action based on certain criteria being hit, 8,000 impressions is their magic number before they're willing to scale an ad or increase a bid or decrease the budget. And if here's some background noise, it's because I'm making breakfast, so I'm trying to multitask here. So 8,000 impressions is the magic number from Facebook, and the challenge though is that, and again, this is what you can do. You can multitask, talk about Facebook ads while you're cooking. We got some potatoes going here. All right. So 8,000 impressions is the magic number. That's typically the number we like to look for at an ad set level before we'll say this is a winner or a loser. Just because, really to decide whether this ad set is good or bad, it takes some time, right? You can't make gut instinct kind of impulses off of 1,000 impressions, 2,000 impressions. There's just not enough data on that actual ad set to say whether this is good or bad. And the last thing you want is to have actually found a winning interest or winning behavior, or winning demographic, and turn it off because the first 20 bucks you spent didn't make a sale. But if you had let it go to 100, you might have had 4 or 5 sales in there. So you don't want to kill too early. At the same time, you don't want to let things drag on. So 8,000 impressions, magic number. Just give me a second. Hey Google, stop. Gotta talk to my Google butler. So 8,000 impressions, magic number. That being said, it's kind of unrealistic for a lot of people that are just getting started. If you're only spending $5 a day per ad set, you're probably going to be running that ad set for a few weeks, if you're not scaling, before you hit 8,000 impressions. And then on top of that, if you're running multiple ads like you should be, so if you're running 6 to 9 ads under that ad set, yeah, good. I would like to say that I'm on the West Coast, but I'm not. So this is a lazy Sunday that I just woke up an hour ago. So yeah, breakfast at 1. So the problem though is that the ad set level, you then have individual ads, right? So if you actually look at the individual ads, now you'll see how many impressions each ad has gotten, and most times, and I love that my fiance Larissa's watching and she's in the room too. I'm going to show you on live. Can you see yourself? That's what making breakfast for. So, so at the individual ad level, you might have only spent, $5 out of that $50 in 10 days of $5 ad set. So that actual ad might have only gotten, 500 or 1,000 impressions. Now the problem there is if you turn that ad set off, you might actually have ads in there that would have killed it, but Facebook kind of allocated the budget to 1 or 2 ads, which is what they typically do. If you put 6 or 9 ads in an ad set, 2, 3, 4 are going to get a majority to spend. The rest are probably going to get no action. They'll get a few bucks a day, depending on how much you're spending. So a method I recommended before, which I talked about in the video that I fake recorded earlier and didn't actually get to record, is the Michigan method. And so the Michigan method is pretty cool because you're isolating every variable. And so instead of creating an ad set with multiple interests in it that has multiple breakdowns, multiple genders, multiple ages, that also then has 6 or 9 ads in it, instead what you do is at the campaign level, for example, we ran one for for Pat Flynn's course, where we had desktop, mobile, Instagram, so 3 placements for each campaign. Then within each one of those, we had an individual interest, lookalike audience, or waiting list audience, and then each one of those had just a single ad. So if we were doing 6 ads per ad set, we would now have 6 ad sets, each one with the identical interest or identical audience, using a different ad. And the reason we like that method is it lets us really test which ad is best, instead of kind of letting Facebook decide which one's best. So we're isolating individual ads, we're isolating individual variables within the ad set, and then we're also isolating individual variables within the campaign level by breaking it down by placement or gender or age. Now that method is more effective if you've been running some traffic for a while and you already have good data to decide which placements are best, which genders, which ages are best, and then you can isolate those. If you're just getting started, what I'd recommend is go through graph search, audience insights, do your market research, use spy tools, and isolate your audience. And then they don't. So Hector, that's a great question, and I thought the same thing. So I'm going to be, give me a sec. So they don't cannibalize each other because the audiences are so large, right? So if you're doing a 50,000 person audience or you're doing a custom audience, it could potentially cannibalize itself if you're spending 10, 15, 20 bucks a day per ad set. It'll take a little time. But if you're doing a 2 million, 3 million, 4 million person audience, just think about it this way, right? So let's say for Startup Drugs, we have an audience, it's entrepreneurship, and we just target men. So the audience for us is about 10, 12 million people, and that's a big audience for us. If we then test 20 ads, each targeting that interest, so we have 20 different ads or 20 different ad sets, each ad set is the exact same, targeting men between 25 and 44, entrepreneurship, there's a lot of people competing for that audience. It's such a massive audience. So the additional 20 to 50 bucks I spend per ad set is not going to move the needle bid-wise. It's not going to mess up the auction system within Facebook. So you just need to keep an eye on the actual size of the audience and how much you're spending per test, because that then could have an impact. But if you're talking in big audiences, scalable audiences, you're not going to cannibalize yourself and you're not going to move the needle. And I've tested this, and that was the first thing I thought when I read about this method is, that's interesting. This guy's, he's running 20 of the same ad sets with 20 different ads. You also got to think about this, right? Each ad set is a unique ad. So it's resonating differently with that same audience. So there's this added benefit of exposure where the same audience is potentially seeing your multiple versions of your ads in a small time frame. So you're able to hit them, build some brand awareness, get in front of them a lot, but at the same time you're able to test which headline's best, which copy's best, which creative version is best. So it works. I've tested it now on a few different ad accounts, and I've spent a good amount of money on it, and it works. So that's that. I kind of was getting off topic a little bit there. But yeah, so back to testing. So the final point I'll make here, and this was my gem when I was actually recording the video downstairs before I realized I wasn't recording, was you have to be willing to take risks. If you want to play in this world and you want to make money with any type of media, so whether it's TV, radio, display, content, native, whatever it is, and you're spending money to acquire a customer, you need to be okay with, hey, I'm going to take some risks because the reward's high. If you want to play it safe and you don't want the big home runs, SEO, organic, content marketing, that's where you should be focusing. And you should be doing that anyway because that's important for the long term. But that's the long play. That's the play where you're taking fewer risks, but it's more consistent down the road. But if you want to launch a store today and start selling stuff today, SEO is not going to do it for you. Content marketing is not going to do it for you. You need to be willing to pay to play. And so what I tell most people is, if you're only willing to risk 10 bucks a day on Facebook ads, you're probably not going to succeed. It's going to take you way too long to test. It's going to take you way too long to find winners, to find losers. You're never going to get to scale. And at best, you're going to sell a few, whatever your product, a few widgets a month. So, in my opinion, you need to be willing to risk a few $100 a day. So if you're willing to say, hey, I'm willing to spend $200 a day, and that allows me at $10 per ad set to test 20 different ad sets. And within those 20 tests, after a few days, you're going to find 4 or 5 winners. I can tell you that. There's going to be a handful that are going to be outperforming. Most are going to lose, but you found those quickly, and now you're able to take those 4 or 5 winners. You're able to isolate what worked there, so which genders, which placements, which ages, what interests within those, and now I'm able to turn off all those losers, reallocate that saved budget into the winners, and further test variables within those, and so on and so forth, until you get to a point now where you've isolated very, very specific pieces of data that now I can work on scaling. And now I can bring in things like manual bidding, really advanced strategies that'll let me scale effectively. So I hope that that answered your question, Sebastian. Sorry I didn't get to do the video earlier, but I did record it, so I've double recorded the video for you. If you have any more questions about this, 'cause this is a huge topic, and there's, you can spend days just workshopping this. So feel free to comment below and let me know if you have any questions. I can hop back on a video today and answer them. This is also a topic I'm covering in great detail in my course, so I'll give myself a little plug there, because I don't do that often. So that course is going to cover a lot of that, as well as some strategies we use, such as the Michigan method, to test a lot. So that's all I got today. I'm going to get back to cooking some breakfast. You guys have a good Sunday.